Hello, welcome back. This is Jacob and today we are gonna be continuing the narration and character voice acting for the main story of Arknights, episode 14, aka chapter 14, Absolved Will Be the Seekers. That is always a mouthful, but whatever. Alright everybody, new part, new stuff, a lot of stuff. But before we head into it, as always, to anybody bumping into the voiceover through this episode, the entire playlist for the whole main story in the description of the video down below, plus any other story that is connected to the main story can also be found down there. Pick up from wherever you left off and enjoy. And thank you very much. And speaking of, as always, thank you very much guys for the likes and the comments you leave behind on the videos. And I particularly love the discussion that happened in the previous episode in the comment section. Pretty much the two camps forming around the very sentence that Horn has uttered in that one scene with Bagpipe about potentially Mandragora, her death and her burial, and the two camps of one side being the sarcastic comedic type of saying, well, this is how Hypergriff destroyed the Church of Mandragora in a single sentence. And on the other hand, people being shocked that that is the way that they reveal that. And I will agree with both sides. I will also offer one extra thing upon further reading. Well, not reading these parts that are going to be in today's part, but just in general rereading the sentence and how it's structured. And this is no copium, by the way. This is literally just me analyzing what is said there. But yeah, I love the conversation that happened. Keep that going. I love that. But yeah, anyway, the sentence, I kind of want to go back to it and just say this. The way it was structured, the two of them were discussing the different leaders they met of Dublin. Obviously, in Bagpipe's case, it was Reed, and in Horn's case, it was Mandragora. She pretty much ran into her a couple of times. I mean, she got taken prisoner by her, of course. But it's very interesting how it's structured, and I have a sneaking suspicion that they are maybe baiting us with the sentence, because the way it's written, it literally says that. I have met the leader who has killed Cello. And then immediately the next sentence continues with, I have buried her, blah blah blah. Now, here is the thing. And again, this is no copium, this is just me analyzing, but maybe I'm giving copium to you guys. Or hopium? I don't know. The way it's structured, it could mean either or. It could mean she's talking about Mandragora and burying her, because we do know she was on her last breath when Misery was present. And again, like I said in the previous part, I believe in either in the outro or somewhere I said it, it could be just Misery taking her, body when she passed away to Horn to deal with her however she wants, or just, showing her, hey, she passed away. But that one is kind of weird, but still could be a thing. The other one could be that the sentence is not referring to Mandragora, but is referring to Cello, right? It could mean one or the other. She could have just said that, hey, I met the other leader who killed Cello, and I buried Cello, blah blah blah. Could be. We don't know. It could. Look, if it's a bait sentence, I'll give Hypergriff a cookie for it, because it really is a bait sentence, and that is really the first thought that goes through your head, right, when you see it. But I guess we'll see. Maybe, I mean, so far they have not revealed, which is actually surprising me at this point, they haven't revealed the next main story chapter over in CN, which is interesting. I guess we'll see. If the craziest shit ever happens and Mandragora pops up as a playable character because they baited us here with this chapter, I'm gonna laugh my ass off. Like, personally, I don't want her to be playable. I mean, she's an enemy leader. I don't give a frick about her in any case. I find her interesting, but not really like, oh, I want her playable. Don't really give a frick about her. But anyway, if she becomes playable, and that appears in the next chapter, and that's why they're delaying it in CN, not to spoil EN, so we have time to read this story, I'm gonna laugh my ass off. I am really gonna laugh my ass off. It's gonna be freaking hilarious. But anyway, if that happens, fun. It's gonna be fun. But yeah, anyway, we shall now proceed into the quick recap of the previous part, so for those of you who wanna skip, you can do so by hitting the timestamps down in the comment section below. Enjoy, and let's begin. So, on the previous part, we began with, pretty much with Ursula coming back to Manfred and delivering the news of the Lifebone and how the situation looks over there, and who is left for defense, pretty much telling Manfred that that defense is pretty thin. Meanwhile, W has her own little adventure by meeting a certain individual by the name of Kal'tsit, who appears to have been an experiment on immortality from Quisartushtai, aka the Confessarius, aka Shining's father, aka Shining's brother, aka Sweet Home Alabama. I don't even know what to call the guy. But yeah, anyway, he was an experiment by him into immortality, but it was not successful in the form of that he was able to be a vessel for the soul of Quisartushtai, but instead he just was left to be his own being and banished himself because of the fact that he was not capable of serving his master in any shape or form. However, in that place, as W goes a bit on a rampage, she opens the door behind the altar on which Theresa was resurrected, and upon opening it, she seems to enter a bit into the Myriad Souls itself. She has a bit of a flashback where, or rather, she has a bit of a jaunt through memories where she sees some events of the past, coming back to Rhodes Island, discovering what was happening, aka Babel, and discovering what was happening and learning about Theresa firsthand. And also, she sees a vision, or rather she sees an echo of Theresa, and through it finally comes to understand that Theresa has passed away, and she is gone, and she has joined the Myriad Souls. And the one who is alive is not the actual Theresa, it seems, or might just be a small figment of the original one. But through this little encounter, W finally clears her head, lets her emotions run, and pretty much has a goal now to find and, well, get rid of the other one, the fake one. Upon leaving the vision, she has one final conversation with Kal'tsit and pillages some material from that room, including bombing the shit out of it. Then we proceeded back to our Lifebone as our Sarka's mercenaries there are trying to defend the Lifebone until the anointed time, but as Ines is being cornered by Nadine, the Nachtseher, she gets help by the appearance of W in a very explosive fashion, and the two of them reconvene. Meanwhile, Hodor is having his own little adventure on the Lifebone, but before that, Ascalon finds Manfred, and the two of them have a little bit of a duel. However, even though Ascalon pierces the heart of Manfred, as she believes that that was Manfred, it gets revealed that that was not him, but Damazti just pretending to be Manfred. And the real one was at the Lifebone, and he is engaging Hodor. The two of them have a conversation at the beginning, back and forth, and once that is, or rather that reaches its climax, Manfred lashes out at Hodor and seems to injure him. Now is it critical or not? We will see. Proceeding then to the siege team, we see them meet up with the ducal forces as they are exchanging information and supplies, and we get the scene where Bagpipe and Horn have a little conversation about the whole situation of County Hillock and what happened, talking about the leaders that they have met from Dublin and who they have buried. Upon reconvening as well with the Trilby Asher that is kind of always hovering around them, they head on to the battlefield the very next day. And oh boy, is it a battlefield. The Nachtseher is present, the army is there, so are the ducal forces, led by Wellington and Castor, and the other dukes in between, and it's chaos, basically. The siege team, the Exemplars, get hit by some witchcraft and their vehicles disabled, pretty much putting them to mostly go on foot. Meanwhile, Caster is pretty much waiting for the arrival of the Size of Kings and the Exemplars, while Eblana appears as well on the battlefield and engages the Sarkas with her deathly flames and resurrects them to pretty much create zombies in her own kind of fashion, while the Duke of Wellington finally gets his one-on-one matchup between his forces and the Nachtserer king Nezalem. And that is pretty much where we left off. So then, let us proceed. So, of course, today we will be proceeding from stage 14-8, the after scene, as we didn't cover that last time. So, let's go and do that. Once more, before we head in, we do have two new enemies here. We have the Caustic Originium Slug Alpha, highly mutated Originium slugs around Londinium, altered by the rapidly changing environment, filled with extremely dangerous Originium particulates. Their bodies explode upon death, spreading active Originium pollution. And we also have the Putrefied Pseudorum, The Putrefied Pseudorum is the Shroud of the Fallen. Once bloated from gluttony, it now nourishes its insatiable kin. For the Nachtserer, consumption and nourishment, greed and devotion are just two sides of the same dreaded coin. Alright, and with that we proceed into the after scene for 14-8. Close support. Fight war with war, and death with death. "65 hours into the operation. The battle between the Ducal Alliance and the Nachtzerers is brutal. Just farther ahead, the Silver Rock Bluffs. The Originium response is intense and the vehicle has already been paralyzed. Vina should be arriving at the front lines soon. The Exemplars have a tough task ahead of them. When the Size of Kings and the Stone of the Sword become one, we'll be able to see it from our position. Catastrophe be sundered. It's only a myth. When people see things that defy explanation, they tend to exaggerate and romanticize them when passing down those to generations. The Size of Kings and the Shard. The Victorian's Shield and Spear. The Shard is an application of Originium on the same level as large-scale witchcraft devices, and the Size of Kings is able to neutralize certain Originium reactions. I see you've done your homework. Originium is often linked to a chronic disease. To this day, the people of Terra's best solution to catastrophes has been and still is to avoid them. It is incredibly difficult for people to directly intervene in the mechanisms of Originium, but the Victorians have long mastered these tools save themselves. The origin of the Size of Kings lies not in Victoria, right? The first time I saw the Size of Kings was deep within the palace of the Shahanshah in Sargon. People regard it as a symbol of the Aslan's royal authority and believe that it can protect any settlement or city. This is indeed true. It is able to neutralize Originium reactions to a certain extent. Only to a certain extent? You don't seem particularly concerned about that caveat. That's right. No matter how much effort the Sargonian casters put into unearthing and retrofitting it, it was nothing but a former city defense device. During the era in which it was put to use, Originium was not yet widely available across the continent. I trust that it will be able to temporarily put a stop to Amnanam and give the Faramut spine an opportunity to take off, but it is not an inhibitor that can completely seal Originium activity. Have you been disappointed too many times over all these years? Doctor, from your current perspective, what do you think Originium is? A phenomenon brimming with the unknown, a resource to exploit, or perhaps a source of disaster and disease? I can't say. You don't want to, because your answer would be all of the above. Originium has long been inextricably woven into everything we use. Our environment, our technology, our culture, and even our bodies. If a portion of a limb is necrotic, cutting it off might solve the problem. But what if the problem stretches from beginning to end? There are some people who see you as omnipotent. Why are you looking at me? Doctor, you asked me if I've ever experienced disappointment. Just once. I allowed myself to become overly dependent on one person, made a series of poor judgments, and paid a price. Are you referring to... But it doesn't mean that I'll stop believing. It is difficult enough to rebel against the very foundations of our origins. To pin your hopes on just one technology or one person is utterly unrealistic.
Dr. Kal'tsit, please take a look at this. There's a cave up ahead.
Someone's concealed the entrance. Crude, twisted, one of the Confessarii's illusions.
I'm sure we'll find a witchcraft altar at its deepest point. We should go to where the Originium response is the strongest.
There's Originium everywhere. This level of Originium activation is unprecedented. How are you feeling, Amiya?
No problem here, Doctor. We have more important things to do right now. I can tough it out.
Under the influence of Amnanan, Originium will come closer to its true nature. The crystal clusters will merge with all things, living and dead, at an increasing rate, sealing the data inside in an assimilated form. Originium can only store information within its own structure. As such, any assimilated individuals will completely lose the forms they had in life. Some may see this as nothing more than instantaneous decomposition. Just like those who die due to an neuropathy outbreak. There are some parallels. In the case of these patients, after their consciousness disperses, their bodies will disintegrate into highly activated originium dust over a period of time. Assimilation, on the other hand, condenses this entire process to the extreme. Rhodes Island's technology can only delay cell originium assimilation rate from reaching a certain threshold. We are not able to truly erect a barrier that can stave off originium. Don't worry too much about that, Doctor. The originium saturation rate in our current environment is far from an extreme level. Is our situation not extreme enough still? It's hard for me not to worry. Right now, we can still breathe and move about. If we're quick enough to stop the originium from spreading further, all hope is not yet lost.
Dr. Kal'tsit? Doctor? I can hear enemy movements. Logos, please prepare to intercept the enemy.
Intruders? It's the Banshee and... There are quite a few guards, but they're not difficult to manage. There must be greater dangers yet lurking in the shadows. Doctor, please stay close to us. The interference of Confessarii's witchcraft is making it hard for me to pinpoint the exact location, but the blood of Tikas is undoubtedly nearby. Tika's blood roused the first originium from its slumber. Over the millennia, the fate of the Sarkas has been tangled together with originium. Amiya and Logos are suffering, or rather, they've shouldered this pain the entire time just to come this far. What about you then? You think of all the times Kal'tsit had to suppress the words she wished to say. You are not only a witness and a bystander, surely you share a deeper connection with originium, with this war, and with everything that's been going on.
This is...
The blood of Tikas. Dukarel's obsession. This so-called pure blood is free of impurities. By itself, it possesses no inherent power. Amiya cut off its connection to the altar.
Got it.
Wait.
Dr. Kal'tsit?
Monster, attack the corpse of that guard over there.
There's another monster? No, there's more than just one. All those defeated Confessarius guards weren't real guards at all.
Near perfect replicas. Only he could decorate this cave to look nearly identical to a real altar. This was a trap designed to lure us in. Damazti.
Amiya, get behind me.
Monster stands in front of you, and you grip Amiya's hand tightly. The blood of Tikas is collapsing along with the entire altar, the surrounding rock walls pressing ever closer. The illusion is no more, but the shifting terrain is real. The real altar must still be functioning. Originium continues to grow, and it will soon consume everything you see.
Doctor!
This is... the Confessarii's den.
We seem to have fallen to the deepest level of the false altar. The Originium was shifting too fast and I only had time to grab onto you. I don't know where Dr. Kal'tsit and Logos are. There's too much Originium here, too much information. I can't sense them at all.
They're probably far away by now. The enemy wanted to entrap us. They want to stop us from destroying the altar. But you might still be a Confessarii's real target.
What they want is the King of Sarkas. The ground is still shaking. Are the crystal clusters still spreading? Wait, that's...
A monster suddenly crawls forth from the Originium's depths. The horns of a Wendigo, the body of a gargoyle, the flames of a Diablo. You have seen these before in the Confessarii stone sculptures of the various Sarkas tribes, but never before sharing the same body.
His emotions are chaotic. I see only memories, fragmented, blurry, and mashed together.
Amiya, over there!
There will be many more, Doctor. This is the cave that gave birth to them. The Confessarii sculptured them from the Sarkas blood and Originium, and gave birth to these creatures.
Does this make you sad?
They're alive, Doctor. They aren't chunks of rock or constructs of witchcraft. They are living beings. But they obey only the call of the Confessarius. They do not feel any pain, nor do they cry for their fate. People would normally call these creatures monsters.
That's right, monsters. Or alternatively, chimeras. Who are you even mourning for? For these mindless kin? Or for yourself? The chimera forced to wear a crown?
The fight is about to begin.
Amiya, are you being affected in any way?
Doctor, I won't let the Confessarii trap me a second time. I'm not so fragile as to let these illusions and nightmares get to me. That name, Chimera, is no different from those dream interrogations. I've heard it many times before. I have no right to be here if I let myself get shaken by that. Beyond that, however, I swore that I'd never let my immaturity drag you down again.
A tiny crown appears above the head of the Kal'tsit girl. Black lines interweave and take form between her fingers. Your connection with the king is deepening.
Perhaps. But it might not be enough.
Amiya, don't be in such a hurry to leave. These clones are nothing before my incantations, Damazti. Or, as you once put it is time wasted. We remember that performance and that stroll. We've talked for quite some time. That day, you at least still considered yourself a lord of the royal court, despite having a different appearance. What are you now? We try to take on different identities. But these varying journeys have yet to provide us with an answer. What we conclude is, the path has neither beginning nor end. It's a cycle. And you sought out death to prove it. A death's end is nothingness. The myriad souls you speak of have said nothing to us. Banshee, how did it feel to sound the bone whistle for us? Shatter. There is no end to them. This is all you can muster. You've lost a lot of bite after your first death. The clone destroyed by the incantation does not dissipate into nothingness as before. Instead, the body simply collapses, sinking into the originium tides until it quickly disappears without a trace. From it, a hand resembling a withered branch extends from within the crystal cluster. Sudaram. Banshee, you once killed me as well. On the battlefield, I am not one of you. In Kazdel, I was ordered to kill those who betrayed the royal court. You got in my way and separated my head from my shoulders with your incantations. You were but a child then, with a puerile voice. I remember you. The traitors you mentioned were a family of 3 who wanted to flee Kazdel in search of a peaceful life. They swore an oath of fealty to the royal court. The royal court should never be held above ordinary Sarkas. You may have been a war hero of Kazdel once, but I cannot allow you to slaughter civilians. So you chose Babel and Theresa, all for the sake of your so-called ordinary Sarkas. That is the righteous path to the future. But even after she died, you still didn't return to Kazdel. You even helped those outsiders steal away the King of Sarkas. The inheritance of the King of Sarkas was a decision made by Her Highness Theresa. You killed me with your own hands. When your incantations were coiling around my heart, strangling it, I couldn't believe it. After fighting alongside each other for so many years, whatever you felt towards me paled in comparison to those outsiders. The potted golden grass you left behind on the ship is growing well now. After Her Highness's death, how many comrades did you save with your own hands during the internal strife that engulfed Babel? The belongings left behind by so many people, I'm sure there's enough of them to fill your whole room, huh? Do you feel sorrow every time you look at that patch of grass I planted in that pot on a whim? If I were to feel sorrow, it won't be because even death has denied you the solace you deserve. Damazti, You were never so keen to dress yourself up as the dead before. This exchange of words cannot provide you with any answers, nor can probing my emotions. The dead do not respond. They continue to emerge from the dark crystal clusters. Many faces, some familiar, others not, all of them Sarkas. Your innate abilities are resonating with the information stored inside the Originium. Seeing as how your powers have grown thanks to the Originium... Logos raises one hand. No incantations are needed, just a low humming sound from the vibrating of the rock walls. In a heartbeat, all of the Damazti's clones are shattered. Just as expected. There's only one left. The very last one. It's you. The vampire stands there in the cave depths, his expression almost identical to when he stood atop the Faramut's skull that day. However, it is no longer fresh blood that roils around him as before, but rather clusters of Originium crystal. Logos can feel the blood in his body stirring. The sanguine arc of vampires. Dukarel. You're not like the others. I know this. You are not one of the Damazti's avatars.
Lord Damazti, this portion of you decided to assist Kwisar Tushtai. No, we have no interest in helping anyone in particular. We are simply searching for answers. Kal'tsit, we have met you before, when the Sarkas were not yet Sarkas. You walked across us. I have no recollection of any such meeting. At that time, we were unable to speak. And then... the first king of Tikas came in contact with Originium. That was our first awakening. The first individual rose up from among us. We felt one another. We had existed for an unknown amount of time before that, but it was only at that moment when we became aware of our existence. Because we began to think. Originium will assimilate all life forms it comes into contact with. Not just you, but also the original vampires, banshees, and vendigos. All Tikas have changed. You're approaching the form of another entity that once existed on this land. Then, what are you?
It seems extremely averse to seeing another self. Kal'tsit, the immortal. Do you still remember what you looked like at first?
The immortal is a figment of certain people's imaginations, and a misrepresentation of myself. Time leaves its marks upon me all the same. The original entity, by the name of Kal'tsit, has long been lost beneath the golden sands.
But you were still yourself. We were watching as you were reborn at Theresa's side. You are different from your previous self, from your appearance to your personality. We are used to constant change for the sake of survival. Among the Sarkas, the Damazti cluster is unique. We once thought that you were like us. We know many Kal'tsit, just as Kal'tsit knows many of us. However, we will always be a whole. Each Damazti is a receptor for us to feel this land. But Kal'tsit is different. Each Kal'tsit is still you.
I do believe that to be true.
Why? Is it the inheritance of memory that makes you so persistent? Memory can be easily tampered with and implanted. This we know, for many long-lived beings have tried such methods.
Such immortality is nothing but an empty lie.
Then, is it some kind of duty?
I won't deny that my life has been duty-bound from the moment I was born. Looking back, I don't think I've ever truly been alive.
The substances that make up your body have all been replaced. The memories inherited from your previous self are unreliable. The mission imposed upon you may not even be your own. Kal'tsit, what is it that has kept the continuity of you across these thousands of years?
A name.
A unique name or a title? It is a question that so many emotionally deprived Sarkas would be keenly interested in.
This name has many meanings. The person who gave me this name and the people I care about are now in danger. This isn't the time for us to be having this chat. We didn't expect you to be this sentimental. Monster. Alright, stuff happened. One thing I will say here, before I head to the next stage, there was a section in this cutscene where you could choose between Amiya, Logos, and Kal'tsit for a response. The other two responses, the Logos and the Kal'tsit one, will be at the end of this video today, together with the clip section. It should be the very first clip that will start it off, so you can see the other responses you can get from choosing Logos and Kal'tsit. But yeah, anyway, stuff, things, Salus, oh boy. Also in the clip section, a sentence about what I want to do to Salus. Spoiler, it's not lewd. It includes doom. Anyway. But yeah, damn, okay, stuff be happening, conversations be had, Kal'tsit be yapping, and what else to say there? Oof. But anyway, we move on to 14-9, titled Response to Saturation Attacks. Opportunity is fleeting in the ever-changing tempo of war. Let's begin.
There's one more.
I'm afraid it won't be that easy.
My cute little king of Sarkas, you've already broken 5 of my pets. Shall I take a guess at how long you will hold out yet? You gave life to those beings of witchcraft just to use them as expendable tools to hold me back?
It did take me a bit of time to create these chimeras.
You're so cruel!
You go around spreading that rash of empathy everywhere, just like Theresa. When she lost to Theresa's, the regent thought it would be a good opportunity to retake the crown, but to her surprise, she had already passed it on to you before she died. Quite the well-conceived plot. Even with our eyes and ears everywhere, we were unable to detect it before it happened. Were you also fooled by her lies, Doctor? I have no idea what you're talking about. Poor soul, you don't even remember a thing. You desperately serve this king of Sarkas. Is it the former king's manipulation, or is it because you truly love her from the bottom of your heart? That I'm actually able to answer.
Quasar Tushtai's ambitions will bring even greater harm to the Sarkas. Theresa would never allow him to usurp the crown.
Such meaningless prattle, my dear little rabbit. Just ask anyone on the streets of Kazdal and they will tell you, for us, the departure of the King of Sarkas is the gravest disaster. Oh, right, spare me whatever you might say about fairness. The inheritance of the King of Sarkas has always been filled with accidents, and Theresa's actions were no different from what we did. We all sought to make this power easier to control. Our region believes more deeply in the connection between blood and soul.
The pain they're enduring. Are these emotions also instilled and manipulated by witchcraft?
The Chimera lashes out at the crystals around it. Originium activation levels are increasing. Amiya, the Originium activation levels are changing extremely quickly.
Doctor, you don't need to worry. I can get accustomed to this Confessarii's witchcraft. Over the last few years, I've been learning. I remember all the treatment methods Theresa taught me, as well as all the instructions I've received from Dr. Kal'tsit. I can feel the connection between me and the King of Sarkas. It has not left me. It just hurts up a little bit, that's all.
Utterly meaningless. Go now. That one is of no value anymore. The crazed Chimera rushes towards you. From Chernobog to Londinium, you've encountered all forms of foes, some of which defied your wildest imaginations. But the enemy before you looks like the most formidable of all. It is the product of the Confessarii's manipulation of blood, combined with the ultimate embodiment of Sarka's physical strength. Salus said that Sarkas are much stronger than Kautuses, but you know that even Amiya's body is vastly stronger than yours. And yet, you still have an advantage. Something sets you aside from others, something that makes you one of a kind. The Chimera howls.
I won't let you!
The black lines of the Sarkas King run through the Chimera in front of you. But the claws of another Chimera are about to reach your head. It's almost time. The Doctor takes a small step back. Crystal clusters are violently multiplying at the position you stood just a moment ago. One after another, like flowers brought into full bloom throughout, sharp stones tear the ground and rock wall. The same is also true for the Chimera closest to you. Its massive body crashes to the ground, originium dust kicked up in every direction, rubbing and colliding, exploding in a dazzling gold. Just as calculated, the surrounding originium rocks have reached a critical point of collapse, overcharged by witchcraft energies. A mist of fine crystal rains down onto your mask. You gaze upon them, harboring no ill sentiment whatsoever. Originium will never harm you, and deep down, you realize this once again. But the same is not true for others. An instinctive fear swirls in the eyes of both Amiya and Salus. Amiya approaches you steadfastly, while Salus shows a hint of hesitation. And it was in that moment, just one brief moment. Bind.
My hands and feet. Banshee!
Salus is about to let out a scream, but the ensuing incantation preemptively seals her power. Your voice is grating to the ears. You spend too much time playing with pelts, while knowing nothing about weaving a stanza. Amiya, it's time.
Right. Salus!
The black particles no longer revolve around you, but instead form into a sharp sword. You cannot help but to look into the face of the blue-haired Confessarius. Her emotions have almost faded away, as if already having made peace with the imminent fatal blow.
So, this is it. The King of Sarkas's verdict. You... Not misunderstand. I did everything I could to try to survive. I failed to recapture the King of Sarkas for the leader, and made a grave mistake, which is why I was deceived by the cunning pest beside you. For the sake of this life, I should try to atone for my sins. Is that it? You were willing to sacrifice yourself for Quistar Tushtai's plot. He is our father, our progenitor. Disobedience is not an option. I truly hate Quisar Shinnok, and I hate you too. Why do you choose to resist? Amiya, are we not just chimeras implanted with hope?
Obstruct. The exploding blood mist is blocked by an invisible force. Shortly afterwards, the blood mist that obstructed your view gradually dissipates, and silence falls over the entire cavern.
She got away.
She galvanized the blood dripping from her wounds. She would have no means to fully resist my incantations. Such an action would only tear her further apart. As long as Salus is not killed completely, she will find a way to escape. You heard her say it herself. She sees this life as precious. And where do you think she'll escape to?
Her mission is probably to safeguard the blood of Tikas, right? Since she could not stop us at the fake altar, she would definitely return to the real one.
The way forward is clear now. Logos, I assume you've already left the tracker. I have met your expectations.
I understand your plan, Doctor, but it's far too risky. I can't approve of what you did then. If you try pulling a stunt like that again, I'll get angry.
I'll keep that in mind. But we don't have the luxury of time. That's right, we need to pick up the pace. Kal'tsit stares at an object on the ground. You recognize it as the Confessarius mask left behind by Salus as she fled. We underestimated Quisar Tushtai. Previously, he suddenly appeared before me and Shining, kidnapped Nightingale, and revealed his intent to usurp the King of Sarkas. He has been lurking in the shadows for thousands of years for this moment. He would certainly not make any rash moves until his goal is accomplished. He wanted others to think that he was solely after the Black Crown. Snatching the crown is not the end? What does he plan to do with it? The King of Sarkas is a neutral force. Whether it heralds the arrival of calamity or averts, it depends on the wielder. Which is most likely why Quisar Tushtai seeks the crown. He wants that authority to be vested within his own hands, to touch those secrets passed down for eons, to seek even greater power from the point of origination. Amnanam, the first Originium. Quisar Tushtai, Dukarel, and Theresa's, while their ultimate goals may be different, they all converge upon the same destination. The Sarkas have always been deeply influenced by Originium. I fear, however, that this influence is being directed on purpose. Or that it is uncontrollably penetrating into a deeper level.
Ow! I think I'll be fine.
Your physical condition has stabilized. Logos says that the lingering traces of Confessari's witchcraft have already dissipated.
Thank you.
You have cracks in at least 3 rings.
It's nothing serious. Just some battle damage, that's all.
The rings aren't the problem, Amiya. Since the battle for the command tower started, don't you think you've been taking on too many memories and emotions? Those aren't going away. It's your own psyche that is tearing these rings apart, and no instrument is enough to contain such a torrent of emotions.
The rings can't, but I can. I'm not just an instrument. Those emotions were forced on me by someone else, yes, but I chose to reach out to them, to experience them, to feel them. If I said it wasn't painful, that'd be a lie. I don't want to deceive anyone else, or myself, by acting as if that pain doesn't exist. But I'm pretty much gotten used to it.
It's like wading through a swamp with a heavy load on your back. Amiya, I'd recommend reinforcing those rings.
No. To save even more people, I need even more power. I've told you again and again that this is what I wish for.
Doctor, how's Amiya doing? Not ideal, but she's managing to stay in control. The solutions we have for all these problems are only stopgaps at best. That feeling of seeing yourself and everything around you sliding into the abyss is no less harrowing than physical illness or pain. I can't change the fact that she's infected. If only I could cure her. Amiya's will is unwavering. When Her Highness Theresa brought her before us for the very first time, she was but a child. I still remember her gaze lingering on the feathers on my horns. How did you react? Even I found myself somewhat shocked. There was no fear in the child's eyes, only a friendly curiosity. I was planning to take a step back like Scout and the others, but Amiya actually came up to approach us herself. That was a time when a good chunk of Babel's core members were Sarkas. We had horns of all shapes on our heads, some more imposing than others, and there were crystals all over our bodies. I'd seen my fair share of Rim Bilitan's cultist caravans, so I knew that those timid, mild-mannered cultists often found it difficult to suppress their instinct fear when they came face to face with the Sarkas. Maybe that was just her nature, or she had an exceptional upbringing. Amiya showed no sign of distinguishing between the Sarkas and any other race. She naturally treated everyone with kindness. Which is why I was not surprised at all when I learned that Theresa chose Amiya to be her successor. Even though you were a lord of the royal court, you were in support of Amiya inheriting the title of the King of Sarkas. For me, that wasn't even the most difficult part of the decision. Doctor, I just ran into some old friends. Among them was one of my former Babel comrades, whom I killed with my own hands. What? Why? After Her Highness Theresa's death, a rebellion broke out on Rhodes Island. A number of Babel members refused to give up on the war. They and a number of Sarkas warriors decided that we ought to take revenge and return to Kazdal to reclaim power. But the more extreme among them, they proposed to kill Amiya and wanted to lash out against Kal'tsit. The team that once belonged to the King of Sarkas turned completely away from Kazdal. They saw this as a despicable theft, an unforgivable betrayal. And Dr. Kal'tsit, along with the non-Sarkas member of Babel, were seen as the culprits. All of them used to belong to Babel. Many of them truly believed in Theresa and were willing to lay down their lives for her and Babel's ideals. The man I killed almost lost his life at the hands of a military commission caster. I saved him, only to take his life later on. That must have taken a heavy toll on you. Logos, the Babel member, already made his choice. After the rebellion, the mercenaries and the Sarkas warriors pretty much all chose to leave. Among Babel's official rank and file, only a few decided to remain. Babel was no more, and Dr. Kal'tsit forbade anyone from mentioning the King of Sarkas. What about you? Why did you stay with Rhodes Island? It's true that I did plan to return to the valley following Her Highness's death. Castle had lost its king, and nobody could predict its future. As the master of the Elegaic court, I could not run away from my duty to my home. But before I left, Scout pulled me aside and said that he and Misery were throwing a farewell party for me. I said that drinking was out of the question, and that I didn't want to ruin my new change of clothes. But turns out they wanted me to help paint. Paint? Interesting time to do a renovation. They were preparing to change the landship's markings. Outcast was the one who convinced me to take the job. No idea what kind of messed up rumors Closure had poured into her head. She said banshee incantations are magical, and if I were to make the new sign, Rhodes Island would surely have smooth future voyages. And that came from a Sancta. So, did you end up making the sign? There's not any actual magic involved, right? But since they insisted, I did weave some incantations into the paint to make the whole process a bit more fun. That's pretty cool of you. The work was done in no time. After finishing, we all looked up at the sign together. Ace asked me when I was leaving, so I gave them 2 dates. The first was when I'd be leaving the landship, that very same day. The next was 3 days later. 72 hours is the shortest time needed to make a round trip from the place the landship was docked at and the Valley of the Banshees. When Ace heard that, he immediately told Scout to give him 5 days worth of booze money. Scout wagered that I'd be back in the valley for more than a week. As for Misery, he pulled a welcome back ribbon out of his pocket and replaced the farewell banner that he had originally put up as a joke. Sounds like everyone was having fun. You were all such good friends. I carry a lot of responsibility on my shoulders, and even if I don't want to set any of them down altogether, I still have to pick and choose what I prioritize. But I knew from the very beginning that I made the right call. Doctor, I've not questioned you since your return from Chernobog. You have no memories of the past, so why do you choose to remain with Rhodes Island even now? Why are you willing to take immense risks and dive deep into the dangers ahead?
Lord Banshee, Mr. Logos, the road ahead has been blocked. The Doctor and the King of Sarkas would like you to hurry up.
A newly formed rift.
This huge rift suddenly appeared out of nowhere. The blue-haired Confessarii went through it, so we're definitely on the right track. But right now,
the Rhodes is reshaping the terrain with increased frequency and severity. I can feel it. I trust that you can as well, Amiya.
the ground is trembling. The Sarkas' emotions are resonating violently with the Originium. Their rage is gathering, and it shakes this land like a storm.
When the blood of Tikas is used in tandem with Amnanam, the battlefield itself becomes an art circle of colossal proportions. The Originium arts of the rampaging Sarkas are amplified, and in turn, that increased power promotes the spread of Originium. A similar situation took place thousands of years ago. The Sarkas acquired witchcraft through Originium, and through witchcraft, Amnanam was awakened. In the centuries to follow, violent storms flayed the land, and great fissures cut deep into the earth. The Originium had almost completed its mission of devouring everything. You were able to stave off the end of days? That is not something I can do, or should. The war ended before Originium could completely engulf the land. The Elders, the Ancients, and the Sarkas all suffered losses so grievous that they were unable to carry out any more large-scale conquests. At least for the time being. War knows no end. "68 hours into the operation. Smoke and thick fog tug and tear at one another. The deck of the Gastrel is teeming with the seeds and withered branches of the Nachtserers. 70% of the guns that once breached countless fortresses have now fallen silent. Its teeth almost completely pulled and its talons wetted smooth, the logical next step is for the spray to be dismantled and devoured. However, the Nachtserer's throne has also been pierced by dozens of chain-ladled fortcrackers. With just one move, the god of war could be pulled from his throne.
You have proven to me that war marches on. 200 years ago, no Victorian would have come even this far. And you, Sarkas, you've proven that you're not just some decrepit old shadow. You're indeed a threat to this great land. Perhaps my warship should have paid you a visit sooner, after I tore Gaul apart. You would have been afforded no such opportunity. None of you. A Confessarius transmission. Yes, in the direction of the blood of Tikas.
The Nachtserer King takes in the entirety of the battlefield. The enemy is trying to halt the storm. This might change the flow of battle, but it is hardly decisive. Even without the catastrophe, his warriors are just as savage, just as unrelenting. Wellington is a worthy opponent, but the fetters of time will soon drag him away. He has no place among the future's wars. The true threat comes from elsewhere. It comes from behind.
Theresa and the Confessarius have reminded me that this is not the only battlefield. Will you attend to it personally? I have already received the wars promised to me by the military commission, present and future. The Nachtserers must also fulfill their pact with the Regent. But before I leave, I must sow some seeds of decay on this battlefield for me to reap upon my return.
A thick haze rises. Upon the battlefield, only the throne remains. Is that Nachtserer running away?
No. In a real war, there is no retreat.
Wait, General! Look at the throne! There's some kind of mist pouring from it! That isn't any ordinary mist! It's eating me from the inside! General, your body!
Soldier, status report on the Gastrel.
Damage to the cabins is excess of 60%. Per your previous orders, propulsion capabilities are largely intact. As for weapons...
Remove anything that's basically unusable and discard it on the spot. Roll out the Originium cannons from the lower deck.
Those are already...
obsolete, but still enough to kill.
Yes, sir!
Notify the Gastrel to retreat to G-0, high ground according to the plan, and continue to consolidate defenses there. We will also follow its speed, while ordering all current battle lines to fall back. Next, we'll send these Sarkas over to Castor and Gododin to handle. Any news from Shay?
The captain and Lady Ablana have captured most of the Naxxera altars in the area.
Yes, I saw. Her flames are very vivid.
Medic!
No need.
General?
A battle with no decisive conclusion will not be my last.
Alliance Fleet Command emergency transmission.
3 minutes left. We should be able to hear gunfire from our current position. Yes, Your Grace, Wellington's column is not far from ours, ensuring we'll be able to provide mutual support. This battle will determine Victoria's fate. Indeed, if all goes well, then we'll be able to end this meaningless stalemate as quickly as possible. Those eyes truly burn with a lust for battle. Do you think he has any ulterior motives? For 2 decades, my desk has been filled with intel related to him, along with its response proposals. As of late, those reports have been updated a dozen times a day. The true struggle begins after the Sarkas have been dealt with. But at this moment, Wellington isn't the only one who needs a decisive victory. The time has come, the assault is about to commence, and he has never failed to be punctual. Do you hear that? The Gastrel's full broadside. Such a different timber it is compared to our ships. But after this battle, Castor's name will shine alongside Wellington's in the annals of Victorian military history.
Anomaly! Anomaly! 00 and 01. Repeat, 00 and 01.
Drat, the comms have been cut? Your Grace, all signals from the Duke of Wellington have vanished. A group of Sarkas suddenly emerged from the catastrophe and have engaged in battle with our frontline troops. What the hell is Wellington doing? Acting alone at a time like this? That vainglorious fool! Has he gone senile? Impossible. I do have a conjecture though. Do you think he deceived Castor, or rather everyone? That doesn't make any sense. This is the Iron Duke we're talking about. Why would he abandon the other, more easily manipulated dukes to go ally with the Sarkas? It's a game of prisoner's dilemma among the dukes. How would the Duke of Windermere, a warrior, treat her foes? She'd kill them all, and wipe the last speck of their blood across their seized spoils. Before he became first among the Victorian dukes, Wellington had already been leading troops for decades longer than your mother. As a noble among nobles, Castor was used to everyone playing by the same set of rules. After spending too long seated in front of the card table, she might have forgotten that some unreasonable people, such as us gangsters types, have a penchant for flipping the entire table. Hypothetically, if the Iron Duke truly saw all of Victoria as enemies rather than competitors, he'd never even given Castor a single chip to bargain with. Catastrophe! The next wave of a catastrophe struck far sooner than any of the catastrophe messengers predicted. All our comms have been knocked offline. How long for repairs? 15 minutes. No, we'll make it in 10.
Your Grace.
You came back on Wellington's orders.
Indeed.
You're heavily injured. Who's responsible?
Not any of the Iron Duke's men.
He lost to that Sarkas.
After the Gastral opened fire, the Naxxera's advanced brigade emerged from the fog. They moved extremely quickly, using already deployed altars to destroy a small warship. Abercorn's infantry had already engaged them for a spell. We expected the Gastrel to aid this ship, but he retreated instead. That's right, the Gastrel has turned back. All of Wellington's other ships are covering the flagship's retreat. Their casters have also changed targets, relying on the covering fire from our ships to secure their own vessel's retreat. What about Abercorn and Ashworth's ships? Completely exposed to the Noctera's assault. They expected to show up as support, but now find themselves facing the enemies head-on. Wellington's ships have completely blocked off their retreat. He's even trying to push Abercorn and the others towards the front lines. It won't be long until the remaining Alliance forces are wiped out and become sustenance for the Nocterers. Your Grace, the Alliance forces dispatched to the heart of the battle have collapsed, and the Sarkas will soon return to the rear where we are situated. The plan to cut off and encircle the Sarkas has failed. We are at risk of getting surrounded ourselves. At risk? No, it's already too late. What's enveloping us is much more than a catastrophe. Nocterers! The signal's back online, and we've run into a large contingent of Nocterers. No, it's an entire army! There's another force approaching from the right. Is that their second army? They've already begun fighting. The catastrophe is amplifying the Nocterers' witchcraft. The Originium response is spiking sharply. Your Grace, watch yourself! Troops on the battlefield still able to receive any feeble signals at all simultaneously are sent a staticky message. The Glorious has been confirmed. Destroyed. Vina remembers the first time she saw a high-speed battleship. It was sitting on her father's desk, a small-scale model, only as long as an adult's forearm. Its crystal flagpole would fall over with just a single poke. Her father pushed her touchy-feely hands away, telling her that high-speed battleships are akin to metallic monsters that conquer the land. They, like the indomitable city of Londinium, were the crowning jewels of Victoria's industrial technology. Alexandrina, when you are older, I will take you aboard the newest battleship. You will see it for yourself. Many years later, when Vina did in fact see one, it was only upon the battlefield. Be it Windermere's, Castor's, or Wellington's warship, they were so majestic that the people standing beneath them were mere specks in comparison. But at this moment, the broken warship in the palm of the colossal Originium wave before her seems to have reverted to the tiny toy she played with in her childhood. That Originium wave crushed the Glorious into pieces. My eardrums are still aching. The sound of a warship being destroyed. I doubt there's anyone nearby who didn't hear it. The Duke driving that huge thing is dead, just like that? Hey, Dagda, you'd better not shit yourself. You're the one whose hands are shaking. You've been quiet this whole time, Dagda. What's on your mind? They made an example of the Duke of Castor at this critical juncture. The Sarka's intentions are all too clear. What might that be? A warning? No, it's a message. A message that the Sarkas are about to launch an all-out attack. Inform all our comrades and prepare for the next assault. The Duke of Castor is not dead. Horn! Our morale's completely shot right now. That was quite the commotion just now. Nobody has ever seen anything like that before, including us. But the captain's already sent out a bunch of old vets to tag along with you and calm down the fresh greens. Aye, looks like it's been working out.
Bagpipe, don't hold them to our standards, even if you're just doing it subconsciously. The exemplars just happen to be a particularly special case. Aye, got it, Captain. Horn, you just said that the Duke of Castor is still alive? You seem quite certain about that. Take a look. The muzzle of the Glorious's cannons have been locked on since the very beginning. Huh? There might be countless criticisms about Victoria's Grand Dukes, but holding that position for decades is no easy feat. Since the Glorious has not ceased its resistance, that means the Duke of Castor has not perished. As for the actual situation, maybe that's something a Trilby Asher can clear up for us. He left the moment the Glorious started to run into trouble. He might be in the vicinity, trying to get in contact with the Glorious to figure out what's actually going on. But from what he told us, the stone of the sword we're looking for is also right there. Siege, what's our next move? We've just heard back from the outpost. The Glorious has been completely surrounded by the Royal Court's blitz attack, and the Duke of Wellington has suddenly withdrawn his forces. The situation in the surrounding area has rapidly deteriorated. Vina, I'm afraid that we'll have to halt our march at once.
Well then. I got bamboozled. For a split second I believed Salus was dead. I was celebrating and then I was like, ah, god, fuck that. Anyway. Well then. That was a scene. And then getting bamboozled as well by believing that Castor died. This whole chapter is bamboozlement central. They keep doing it. They keep doing it. But yeah, them. Stuff be happening. Wellington be doing stuff. And not doing stuff. And doing stuff. And then Castor be like, whoops. Time to get bombarded. Myself. But yeah, damn. Plus the whole situation at the front. I do, however, love the little scenes at the beginning in the first half portion of the scenes in the before scenes with Logos and the Doc just talking to each other. I really enjoyed the conversation between those two, especially Logos. Especially the troll master Logos declaring all his things and just playing along and being a little goober. Do love me some of that. God damn. I do love how he just says like that Outcast, who is a Sancta, aka Angel, was convinced by Closure that the incantations were some kind of magic and stuff, and he just played along and did the thing anyway. But I do love the random sentence of, that was said by a Sancta. That was so good. He has some great lines on him. I love it. But yeah, anyway. With that, we have no new enemies to add here, so we proceed to 14-10, which is our final part for today. And as you might imagine, this is a special stage, which means this will be part of today's video. But before we get to that, the title of 14-10 being From the Light. Unwavering faith is the blade that will cut through the darkness and slay despair. Let's start. All hands, you are not to change your route without authorization. Pass through the Castrel's covering bombardment area post-haste. Cover the general's return to the ship. Shells rain down on both sides of the mobile force that is moving at full speed. Smoke obscures their whereabouts, and withering artillery fire crushes the Sarkar's troops collapsing upon them. Wait, 200 meters ahead! I found something strange belonging to those Nachtseers! The aura emanating from that throne seems to be letting those damn devils to replenish their ranks faster! They're closing in fast! They're trying to intercept us! General, do we need a flank guard to continue the diversion? No. Commander, we're...
Run them over.
Yes, sir! Amidst the smoke, silent figures in white robes raise their longswords, sundering the artillery fire falling upon them. They disappear into the plumes of smoke and dust kicked up by the explosions. Prepare to intercept the enemy! 5, 4, 3, 2...
Don't disappoint me.
1!
The skies are raining fire.
Not all death is alike, Sarkas.
Purple flames wreathe the Duke of Wellington's entire mobile unit, and a rising pillar of flames carves out a completely safe domain on the battlefield. A sanctuary brought by the flames of death.
You've more than proven yourself trustworthy, Lady Aplana.
And I too admire your duel against death. However, your injuries are still severe, and the Nachtzer's deathly aura still eats away at your body. Your uniform may hide your injuries, but not from me. Take my hand, Your Grace. You should not be riding this rickety vehicle. Allow me to personally escort you back to the Castrel.
It's just a flesh wound.
The Duke who overcame death ignores the Draco's outstretched hand, his body remaining upright with the help of his cane. Pain? Little more than that.
Lady Aplana, your flames still burn a bit too hot. Make an opening in this wall of flame, and I will lead the way. Don't worry, this cane has accompanied me through more dreadful battlefields. I will stand atop the Castrel's bow and await Victoria's call for help.
As you wish, my ever-faithful lord. If your body can no longer sustain your ambition, then I shall rekindle your heart with flames. Even death shall be no obstacle for your march forward. We are Tara. We shall stand upon the most glorious place in this land. Together, we shall set this battlefield alight.
Warning, warning! Damage to the hull is in excess of 65%. Navigation system offline, propulsion system offline. Activate backup power supply. The engine room has been damaged and there is a serious leakage of originium fuel. At 2:34, the Frederick was struck by 3 witchcraft shells simultaneously, paralyzing its propulsion system. The combat zone is heavily contaminated by witchcraft. The 3 supporting frigates are unable to approach and currently dispatching infantry. The 2nd offensive line has incurred a fierce assault. The 9th Battalion Armored Corps is currently holding back the Nachtzer's infantry. Lieutenant Colonel Blake and Major Morning have been slain. Captain Seymour is currently in command. The Excelsior has discovered an approaching squad of Nachtzer casters. We've lost contact with the Intrepid, with no specific coordinates identified. Duke Ododin's 3 dreadnoughts are approaching full speed to provide support. Duke Abercorn and Duke Ashford's assault battle groups are also responding to the call for help. Originium activity is so rampant that it's off the charts. What the hell is that? Is the Originium eating our ship?
Your Grace, the situation is changing extremely quickly.
The surviving Trilby Ashers have already been sent out, and the news they've brought back has been compiled here.
Our men are dying out there, and the Nachtzers are turning the entire battlefield into a meat grinder. How many of us are still left? Less than a third. Your Grace should retreat. Our flagship still retains its defensive capabilities. Even in this condition, it should at least be able to clear a way back for you. I can't leave. Eileen, spread the word that I will be staying on the Glory. Use whatever means you have at your disposal. If I abandon the front line, the defensive line will inevitably be routed. Victory will be yet another step further away from Victoria. What would the other soldiers think of us?
That yet another duke has abandoned them? When this battle is over, our soldiers must also remember what price I paid for this victory. I will continue to draw the Nazir's fire. The other dukes will surely come to my aid. They understand exactly what is and is not important at this current moment. Besides, my elite forces are all here. You are all the support I need. Nothing more needs to be said.
Watch out, Your Grace!
We'll start by clearing out this cabin. Our march towards victory begins from this stronghold.
Your Grace. As you command. Then we must get our hands on the size of kings. The stone of the sword is still here, undamaged. That is our best opportunity for a counterattack.
Is the Trilby Asher who's been in contact with our lovely Vina still alive?
Our communication channels are back online now.
Excellent. Get in touch with him. I have new orders for him.
There's no end to them! Shells! Where are the shells? Clark! Dead. They're all dead.
Vina, I've rescued another soldier!
The enemy line up ahead is going to be hard to handle. Are you sure you want to keep pushing forward?
Activating the Realm Blade is the best option we have for turning the tides of this battle. We've already come this far, and this is something only we can do.
Who are you?
We're the Exemplars.
The Exemplars? Use your head, soldier. Don't charge right up to the enemy. So much blood, neuropathy, and the suppressants. Damn it! We ran out a while ago. Hang in there a bit longer and don't move. There's a chance the originium crystals punctured your lungs. It doesn't matter anymore. What? Doctor, sir, just about all of our men are dead. Clark was the second to last one. See that hand over there by your feet? That's all that's left of him. What can I do?
Your name?
Patel. Richard Patel.
Private Patel. From your badge, I see you were assigned to the 9th Battalion Armored Corps, and your commanding officer is Lieutenant Colonel Blake. If I recall correctly, your company's mission is to protect the Duke Caster's flagship.
Who are you? Which unit are you from?
Delphine, from the Exemplars. I'm just like you. I despise those enemies. They took everything from me. But I still remember my mission. I'm here to aid you, Private Patel.
Aid me? Duke Windermere is dead. And I don't know if our esteemed Duke is still with us. And then there's the Iron Duke. That bloody codger Wellington. He deserted the battlefield. What are you people even doing here? What hope do we have for victory?
Delphine subconsciously glances over at Vina, who stands not far away with the size of king strapped to her back. Even if the Grand Dukes give up, we will not.
Is that so? He's not going to last much longer. Shit, hurry up and spread out! He could implode at any moment! We won't have time to deal with him!
Delphine sees the soldiers' bloodshot eyes. There is determination and desire burning within them.
Listen up, Exemplars. There's a contingent of Nazir's up ahead. Put me into that tank over there. Wait, Delphine! Don't go near him! I can handle this!
Very well. Allow me to help you, Private Patel. If this is your last wish.
Thank you.
The battered tank hurls towards the Sarkis troops. Many of the Exemplars had no idea what was going on until they heard the one last battle cry an ordinary soldier gave using his life.
We will record all you've accomplished here today. Each and every member of the Duke of Castor's 9th Battalion Armor Corps was a good soldier, ready to defend the glorious and Victoria herself with their lives.
Wait, what's going on? The dead are standing up?
No, it's not the dead that are standing. They're...
Withered branches. Twigs sprout from the fallen bodies of the Nocturne warriors, extending in every direction, burrowing back towards the fog where the scent of rot and decay is strongest. A figure rises from the fog and quickly approaches.
Get back, Delphine!
Luckily, it'll take more than that to kill me off. If we die here, our lives will get sucked up by the Nocturne altars and will turn into their food.
Does that mean Private Patel's last wish was in vain? If these enemies cannot even be defeated by death.
No, Delphine. He was able to slay this squad of Nocturnes. However...
That monster's clearly weakened and trying to feed off death. Take advantage of this opportunity and destroy the target. I'll cover you. Bagpipe, mark my flank. Private Patel's wish will not be in vain. We'll charge out through the opening he created. Everyone, move it! Don't hesitate. Slow down for a second and the whole situation might spiral out of control. What are you still standing there for? You... don't tell me you're choosing now of all times to get cold feet?
Getting cold feet? No, I just need to stay behind for the time being to fulfill my duty. Your Highness, Alexandrina, please don't glare at me like that. I really do have urgent business to attend to. The Duke has just given me her latest orders. The deal is off. You are to evacuate with the size of kings and await her further instructions. You will not be able to reach the Stone of the Sword, and this key must not fall into Sarka's hands. If necessary, special measures can be employed to ensure the safety of the size of kings.
How did I see this coming?
There is no need to be so wary of me. I have been completely forthcoming when it comes to the Duke's orders. I know you are loath to abandon your quest for the Stone of the Sword, but... count me in.
Huh?
My highest priority remains to ensure the safety of the Duke. But at a time like this, where am I supposed to find allies more trustworthy than the Exemplars?
Your Duke's not going to be happy with your decision.
Would you look at that? We've already switched sides. Look at it this way. I'm outnumbered here, and I don't have any way of dealing with all of you. Go, Your Royal Highness. I hope your plan is a complete one.
Don't worry. My dear aunt won't have anything to worry about. I know what I have to do.
Vina's plans are never complicated, and that has proven surprisingly effective on this chaotic battlefield. Everyone in the Exemplars knows exactly what they're fighting for. No matter how the war faces them apart, in the end, those who survive will gather to lift the glass of victory.
The plan is straightforward. Delphine, you're in charge of commanding from the periphery and pinning down the Sarkas laying siege to the Glorious. Chip away at them and avoid direct engagements. Can you still walk?
I don't think so.
Then grab onto my back. I'll move you to safety. Well, there's nowhere that's safe anymore. But let's get behind that piece of the destroyed warship. Hide behind there for the time being.
Don't worry about us. Right now, the size of kings takes the highest priority.
Don't be daft. Mina's team knows what to do with the size of kings. Our mission right now is to contain the enemy and siphon off some of their firepower. Lieutenant, I need medical assistance over here.
Roger.
Fitz, where are you from?
East Ham.
I've been there before. They've got good leather.
There's an open wound on the leg with visible puncturing. Stop the bleeding first. Do you have pain anywhere else other than the wound?
No, I'm just a bit tired, that's all. Do you have anyone on your mind right now, Fitz?
Barry, from across the street. He still owes me.
Don't say it. Just keep repeating it in your heart. Just repeat it to yourself over and over. Then go back home alive and tell him yourself.
The patient is conscious and has no fractures, internal bleeding or acute infection. Alright, the wound has been cleaned. I will now bandage it and apply anti-inflammatories. He should be fine with some rest. You did well, Delphine.
Lieutenant, do you ever think about wanting to rewind time to the day of our ship being raided?
If we can win, sure.
I'm of the same mind. Because of my mistakes, my incompetence, we were miserably defeated by the Sarkas. I don't want that to happen again today. Lieutenant, please take Fitz back. I'm still needed here. What about us, Vina? Travel lightly, quickly break through the encirclement and go for the pedestal. Horn, bagpipe, we're counting on you to cover our flank. You heard that, Hannah Morgan, Doctor? We're gonna charge forward and never look back.
Sounds like we're rushing straight into a fight for our lives. I'm getting excited already.
Shut it already, Hannah. This bunker's not gonna hold. Where's the location of the next bunker? The strange man in the hat's already found it for us. Keep your eyes peeled for his signal.
Those soldiers up there are Caster's guards. We're almost there.
The bombardment is thinning out. Delphine's forces have managed to draw away a large chunk of their firepower. I can see the pedestal clearly now. Get down! Hold on, that attack just now wasn't from the Sarkas. Captain, it's the Glorious!
The Glorious has noticed us. Its guns are clearing the way for us.
Pounce onto it! Press onward!
They continue to charge into the Tempest, to where the artillery fire converges to where their enemies are. Hammer smashes into bone and sword cleaves through flesh. Those standing shoulder to shoulder are getting heavier injuries, yet they no longer bother to wipe the blood from their faces. They continue pressing forward. No matter how perilous, they never stop. The Glorious is right there in front of them, and Vina can already hear the roar of the battle coming from above.
Hold on a bit longer. We're about to break through.
In an indistinct Sarkas language, you shall not pass.
What's going on? I've lost all sensation in the arm holding my hammer. Vina! The size of Kings! The size of Kings has been knocked flying! After it! The Sigh of Kings? That's the sword. But I had it on my back.
The final ends.
Damn it! Vina, stand up! Help her! Bagpipe, cover my back! I need to reload! I can't block their blades! Bloody hell! Why can't I run any faster? A dark shadow. Something is approaching me. Vina!
Victoria. Victoria. Victoria.
Vina could never forget that voice, even if she can no longer make out all the information it contains. But her intuition tells her that is a name that is associated with her entire life. The ground shatters, and along with it 3 mobile altars. White vapor erupts, and a fiery red blade emerges. Look! A Steam Knight! A Steam Knight stands with us! Victoria's glory has returned, and he stands with us! Follow him into battle! Slay them! Slay every last Sarkas! Glory to Victoria! Slash, pierce, charge. The suit of armor fights valiantly and ferociously. The path behind him is soon littered with Sarkas corpses and the fragments of shattered altars. Witchcraft missiles fall at his feet, crossbow bolts fly towards him, blades slash at his body. But he never stops. He cleaves apart the next enemy, sweeping them away along with any traces they left on him. Huh. A Steam Knight still lives? That's right, we saw him inside the city. But why is he here now? He came for the sword. Vina! I can still fight. But the sword is gone.
I see the signs of kings. It's lying on top of a pile of bodies in the combat zone. I'll retrieve it for you. Just as you said, pounce onto it and press onward. Don't look back. I promise you that the sword will appear when it is needed.
Vina! I will keep going. Cover me.
She clenches the hammer in her hands, shrugging off all doubt and hesitation. She has placed her trust not just in her partners, but also in people who she had never trusted before. No, she placed her trust in all of Victoria. The Victoria she believes in. Run faster. Almost there.
Don't force it. Get hit again and you're a goner. The mobile altar. It stopped? Then who fired the shot? One of our own tanks? Vina, we're connected with the Duke of Five's suit of armor. We're also located Captain Seymour. He's still alive. More troops are on their way to join us. We'll handle all these altars that are flying around. Great news. Let's keep moving. Don't you dare get in our way. We've used up all of the last of our ammunition. That means it'll come down to some good old CQC. Roger that, Captain. Pretty nostalgic, right? Reminds me of our academy days. Let's see how these Sarkas like our technique. Let them try to get past us. The stone of the sword is right ahead, but that corrosive fog.
Your Royal Highness, my colleagues have secured the glorious. Next time our cooperation is needed, the exemplars will hear from this trilby once more. Finally, allow me to use my Originium arts, as well as a little bit of authority to light your way.
A ray of green light cuts through the dense fog of decay. Deep within the storm, the stone of the sword radiates with light.
Alright, the sword. After thinking things through, one really should not disobey a duke's orders. But I also made a promise to your Royal Highness. That's quite a pickle. Alright then, catch!
A silver light streak crosses the battlefield, piercing through the fog. The size of kings, a blade as common that it does not attract the attention of soldiers on either side of the battlefield. I've got it! Don't turn back now, Siege. This is the final stretch.
Don't worry about me, Captain. Go with them!
The storm rises from the battlefield, but the White Wolf has already leapt up. Aim, fire, a procedure she knows by heart. Take it, Siege! The long sword left her hand, cutting through the air as countless eyes follow its path. Vina never looks back. She simply continues running, carefully listening to every last sound. Swoosh! The sound of metal vibrating through the air, the sound of air being cut apart by a sharp object. She forcefully throws down the hammer in her hands. Its massive head lodges into the cliffside, creating a tiny foothold for her. She steps onto it and leaps, and when she extends her hand, the size of King's has already found its way into her palm. Indra, Morgan, remember how we used to chuck Molotov cocktails down the chimneys of the nobles? Yeah, we stood on each other's shoulders. But this time, I'll be running ahead first. The Originium beneath her feet feels like alive, unlike any wall or mountain she's ever traversed before. How much farther? How much longer will it be until the dark clouds disperse and the war draws its final breath? She fled Londinium to the land beyond its walls, then from there she returned. How much farther must she go before she returns to her peaceful homeland and to the people she loves? Vina does not know, but at least the stone of the sword is right before her eyes. She extricates her hammer with all her might. She knows what she must do. She leaps up, hammer and sword held high in the air in her hands, glimmering in the sunlight. The Sarkas are coming, Siege! Bagpipe! All hands! We've almost reached the stone of the sword. Vina, don't hesitate. Right now we have a chance. The only one we'll get. Siege leaps up. The edges of the stone of the sword cut her palm and slip away. The Originium mountain quakes, almost flinging her from it. Just one step further, one more miracle. The knight who was Victoria never forgot his duty. He streaked across the sky, picked up the golden lion who held the realm blade. A dull sound came from the bloodied suit of armor.
Glorious Victoria!
The stone lies just ahead. The waves of Originium rise and fall, countless crystal shards surround her. But the one in the eye of the storm will not waver. Not anymore. For the Glasgow gang. For Londinium. For all who died. And for all who live! The golden land roars at the storm. The size of kings plunges down. Sword and its stone become one. There is an explosion of golden light. It falls on the crystals and on her, shining towards heaven and earth. The golden radiance pierces the red demonic eye, tearing a hole in the curtain of death above. A miracle has happened. A legend has returned. The hero's sword cleaved through catastrophe, bringing golden hope that fell upon the eyes of every Victorian on the battlefield. Londinium will yield to no storm. As long as they have the size of kings, there is no foe they cannot overcome. Victoria! Victoria! The exemplars! The exemplars! Vina! Vina! The cries from a great wave lifting up the exhausted hero. Siege looks up at the size of kings. The sword in its stone looks entirely ordinary, as though it was no more than a key. She knows more than ever that a sword has never granted anyone power, nor has she suddenly become one of the heroes of legend. She stands here now because of the countless eyes that have witnessed her, the countless hands that have lifted her up.
Mission accomplished.
A legend is bestowed by the people. The miracle you hold already existed before Lugal Shargus and I met. In the depths of the Golden Sands, explorers who should have been devoured by catastrophes found safe haven because of this relic. The relic was forged into a treasured blade, and I carried it along with the young Shah into the endless sands. I still remember what he said as he rested against my mane beneath the stars. It shall have a name, but that name is not mine to give. Then, as legends go, he took up the blade and slew the Poltergeist King. He never returned. Nobody in the land was worthy of giving that sword a name, but a legend was nevertheless born. The hero's sword. It passed through the hands of many kings, until at long last, the lion with hair as bright as the sun used it to sever the red dragon's head. That story you're already familiar with, Vina. Beneath the gleaming blade, the lion and dragon ultimately stood side by side and swore an oath to lift the crown together. Alas, the hero's sword would slay no more, but would instead be regarded as the highest authority. It has endured loss and betrayal, yet its brilliance as a symbol of authority has never dimmed. As Lugal Shargus said, you have all sung of it from generation to generation, using the name it was given, the size of kings. No matter how many times it is reforged, craftsmen will always be able to hear the sighs from within the sword. They say that it is the king sighing, lamenting that the glorious empire no longer has enemies worth conquering. But it was never the kings who were sighing, but rather the blade itself, a miracle dug out from the golden sands more than a millennium ago. Still, they had the right to give meaning to this sword. Vina, legends are never told by the heroes themselves. But you continue its story. Perhaps in 20 years, the children will sing. Alexandrina, the sword of Victoria, the king who banished the Sarka's tyrant. But is this the story you want to hear? And by whose right do you wield this sword? The kings, the heroes, the peoples.
Gawain. Got you, Vina! You did it, Vina! The enemy forces encircling the Glorious are retreating before the Duke's forces. Vina, hang in there. We'll catch up to you soon enough. The other Duke's troops have heard news of the Duke of Castor and are now willing to work together with the Exemplars. At least, this is settled before the fighting engulfs Londinium.
Waves of cheering pour through the communicator, each louder than the last. But the battle continues. The size of kings is sheathed within the stone of the sword. This is not the end, but merely a beginning.
The Steam Knight is helping us? No, I'd say he only came for the Realm Blade.
Siege's gaze falls on the devastated battlefield, where the Steam Knight went on its warpath. She looks for the other shadow, but it is nowhere to be found. Siege grips her hammer tightly and stands before her companions, just like she had done so many times before.
Let's continue the fight. Until the moment of victory actually arrives. The Realm Blade is now active. Looking upon from here, that golden pillar of light is truly breathtaking. 2 decades ago, I first saw the prototype of our Stone of the Sword in the workshop. I have been waiting for this moment ever since. The light that sunders catastrophe is no longer a myth or a heroic tale in alleyways. Can you envision it? Beneath the shade of this light, our people will no longer need to live in fear of catastrophe. Our city will be eternally glorious. Back then, nobody could have imagined that it would ever be used for this purpose. That it would be used in a war started by those barbaric devils in a ravaged land outside Londinium's gates. And it was done by the hands of my dear brother's orphan, with the aid of the Exemplars. For decades, the pedestal has been integral to our strategy in Victoria. What should have become Castor's triumph is now a part of the legacy of the former king's heirs.
Your Grace, we are sorry for betraying your expectations.
You call it betrayal? No. The Glorious was saved and Victoria was saved. What is there for me to be disappointed about? The miracle blooming on the battlefield. I can even hear my own guards whispering these words. I believe you, Sir Suffolk, would share the same opinion, no?
The poet should be acting in accordance with military protocol and retreating with a Realm Blade. I will make sure of this.
There's no rush.
Whether this is a declaration of duty or a shadow of loyalty, I shall decide for myself later. What's happened has happened. There's no need to worry about the Realm Blade's fate for now. At least, this isn't necessarily a bad thing either. Connect to the Exemplar's internal communication channel. Use the Alliance line. Your Grace, there's a risk of being tapped. Talk less and do your job. Very well. Whose communication frequency is this? I didn't turn it on. Well done, Exemplars. Well, stuff me! Your Grace, I thought you'd at least want to meet me in person. Indeed, arrangements for that meeting have already been made. But after the Realm Blade's activation, all intel on the battlefield flow to me once again. Opportunities on the battlefield are fleeting, and I was too preoccupied to make use of it. Siege, what you have accomplished is nothing short of a miracle. I will re-evaluate the role of the Exemplars could play in this war. With all due respect, I do not recall opening our communication channels to you. As of right now, assuming your channels are open to all of Victoria's Alliance forces, they will begin their counterattack by retaking Silver Rock Bluffs. Are the Exemplars willing to work with us to create a miracle? Under the banner of the Dukes? No, the Exemplars cannot, and will not be affiliated with any of the Ducal forces. This much I can assure you. You must operate as a heroic, independent unit. Alexandrina, you will come to know what the Exemplars mean to Victoria. For now, we undoubtedly stand on the same side. Take account of your troops. It's time to go.
That golden light! The size of kings has taken effect. Siege and the Exemplars have done it.
The situation on the battlefield will finally stabilize. No longer afflicted by the extreme originium-dense environment, Victoria's forces will be free to display their full potential. The military commission's defeat on the main battlefield is inevitable. Even if there are still disputes among the dukes, the overall strength and sustained combat capability of the Victorian army far eclipses what the Sarkas can muster. Additionally, Victoria just enjoyed a massive morale boost. It won't be long until the scales of victory tip towards Victoria.
Yes.
Amiya, Theresa must have foreseen this when he decided to start this war and fill the trenches of a foreign land with Sarkas lives.
I know, Dr. Kal'tsit. But the more this happens, the more I find myself thinking, what kind of future are they hoping for with so many people thrown away for nothing?
Whatever that might be. Kal'tsit looks up into the crimson sky. The storm has not completely halted. The originium dust swirling in the inverted airflow was only temporarily driven back by the sighs of kings, and now rages even more violently than before. Perhaps they all feel the same way, exhausted just from trying to avert the advent of disaster. We are only one step from the abyss. Return from whence you came.
On the other side of the canyon, is that a crystal cluster that's glowing? Logos.
No matter how many tricks they have up their sleeves, they cannot conceal the blood. I have removed the Confessarii's illusions. Once we go over there, we'll find the real altar. The truth is within reach. However, the shadow is also approaching. It's cold. Way too cold. You feel the temperature abruptly changing again. Before you know it, you are surrounded once more by a thick, swamp-like fog.
Sudaram! How are there still this many?
This is the Nazir's last line of defense in front of the true altar. This is where the Nezalem intends to stop us. He does not want us to get any closer. The lament of the dead fills the air above the battlefield. The Nachtzer's power is almost at its very peak. I have seen the dark clouds of death hanging on the horizon. If the scorching sun no longer shines, I shall cast a light that pierces the fog here.
We will.
Cross over to the other side. Find solace and destroy the blood of Tikas. May the wails of the dead find some quiescence. Logos lifts his hand and points to the other side of the canyon. The congealing mist parts once more. Fairy. Brief yet powerful. Logos seems to both be describing a physical action and uttering an incantation at once. Originium crystals surge like waves in front of you, stretching all the way to the other side of the canyon until they form a narrow but stable bridge. The Nachtzer King will come for us, and someone has to hold him back. I will stay behind.
Logos, just you alone?
Amiya, do you still have the package I left with you before? Please give it back to me.
Of course, but...
Good. With this, there won't be any problems. Now, go. Death is pursuing you. You run with all your might. Maybe it's Amiya who's pulling you, Monster who's dragging you along, or Logos who is pushing you all ahead with his incantations. You hardly even feel your feet touching the ground, but it is as if 1,000 bony hands are growing from the mist, trying to latch onto your ankles. But the aura of decay fails to reach you in the end. A formless barrier envelops your body, keeping the haze at bay. You know that Logos' incantation is taking effect. In this moment, the Banshee's curse feels so gentle and warm. You hear something collapsing and look in its direction. The bridge has disappeared, just as quickly and cleanly as when it appeared. The thick fog once again teems forth, impatient. You search for that familiar figure, but perhaps because he is too far, or perhaps because the fog is too thick, you cannot see anything at all. Is Logos in danger?
Doctor, this is the decision that Elite Operator Logos made. He has the right to make his own tactical judgments based upon the situation at hand. He believes that it would be most beneficial for us to head to the real altar while he faces the Nachtzerers head on. Answer me, Doctor. Do you trust him? Do you trust Elite Operator Logos?
Yes, I trust him.
Then you should also trust that he will regroup with us when we are in need.
I understand your desires, Scion of Decay. But death should not be so cacophonous. Quiet. The whistle pierces through the thick fog, the incantation spreading in ripples. Nothing needs to be spoken, nothing needs to be written. The concealed dead have nowhere to hide. The Sudaram's piercing shriek forms into a longsword that shuttles through the fog. The words from the whistle quiver, the Banshee song resounds. Within the ancient bloodlines of the Sarkas, in a valley choked with Originium, amidst the lamentations of countless people who fell in battle, flaming shells and witchcraft-imbued rounds intertwine in the skies above the battlefield. A high-speed battleship crashes into a witchcraft bastion. A small number of Victorian soldiers charge headfirst into an entire squad of Nachtzerers. The song grows louder and clearer. When that song reaches its climax, the Nachtzerer soldiers fall into silence and stop attacking, one after another, like motionless flags. They no longer hunt. At last, death has returned to the land. War has come to answer your song. The withered branches retreat in unison. They coil, then lie down, returning once more to their long-deceased forms. The most hideous and ancient among them still seems to be struggling unwillingly, finally twisting into a scepter. The tip of the scepter strikes the ground, and a figure emerges from the depths of the dense fog. A Fennel, the master of the Elegaic court. You choose to stay behind and face me alone. The corner of his clothes flutter as the fog disperses. The Sudaram's white robes are scattered across the dense white hills of withered branches. Long swords lie fallen and shattered like grass in a forest. The young banshee sits sideways atop the hill, his blood-stained fingers plucking at the bone whistle in front of his lips. Gentle, melodious. No, Nezalem, there is no such master here. Only Logos, elite operator of Rhodes Island, dressed to greet our guest. I have crafted this opus upon death's motive, and I dedicate it to you. Oh, this was so good, this was so good, this was so good. I was halfway expecting there to be an actual... that this is gonna be where they place like an actual, you know, 3D CG scene in there, but no. Sadly not. Still epic. Still looked absolutely freaking cool. What a moment, what a build-up. Yeah, what else to say? Plus, at the end there, having Logos finally swap into his Rhode Island attire. I love his... Again, I love his lines. I love that the guy just literally declares like, nope, this is Rhode Island operator Logos standing in front of you. Get effed. Oh, that's gonna be the next stage. I cannot wait to read, but for now we need to stop here because that was already quite the hefty work to record all of these parts. I will say though, a lot of shouting equals a lot of stress release. That was fun for me. Also, in the clip section will be the well, the battle has, obviously you've watched it just now, the battle has been included in the whole thing, obviously, because of obvious reasons. I will, in the clip section, include the raw reaction to the battle, because as a mecha fan, and a Gundam fan, seeing the Steam Gundam drop in and wreak havoc, I had some moments. I had some moments. So that part will be left in there, so you can enjoy me me creaming myself over a Gundam. But yeah, anyway, a lot of stuff happened. We have made progress, and next time we will continue from 1411, which is also something that I need for the Hidden Front to continue with that. So probably gonna be. Next part is probably going to be part story and part Hidden Front, just to continue that and see what else is there at the end. Yeah, interesting shit. The blade actually does shit when it gets paired up with something. I am happy. Honestly, the only thing that was missing from that whole moment is not Saber, aka not Arturia Pendragon, but still Arturia Pendragon, because it's the same freaking voice actor, at least in JP, to raise the freaking thing into the sky and yell Excalibur! Sorry. But yeah, anyway. Okay, that would have been a bit too much. If she would have actually done that, I would have laughed. I would literally just be like, nah, come on. You can't do this shit. I have joked about that for years, but you can't do that shit for real. But yeah, anyway, this has been fun. This is going so far very well, and I have yet to get to the real meat and potatoes of this thing. This is still the appetizer to what is about to happen later. Oh boy, cannot wait. But it will wait until next time. For now, as always, guys, thank you very much for watching and listening. If you enjoyed, please consider leaving a like, it will help me out a lot. If you're new, subscribe, there is a lot, like I said at the beginning of the video, quite a lot, pretty much the entire game on the channel. And if you want to support me and my work even more directly, there are multiple memberships on the channel, and no video will be behind a membership, it is pretty much just there to support me and my work more directly. So yeah, thank you very much, thank you to the members that are there, appreciate it guys as always, and I will see you in the next part. Until then, enjoy the clips at the end of this, and hope you have a fantastic day wherever you are. Until next time, bye bye. Logos, you've also an infected. Do you feel anything abnormal? I'd be lying if I said that these environmental conditions weren't affecting me at all. But it's more than just Originium. Kal'tsit, will our medicine still work? It beats being completely unprepared. Under the influence of Londinium, Originium will come closer to its true nature. Okay, she has the shortest one, literally one sentence. For once, she has one sentence. Anyway, that's the other responses. Shortly afterwards, the blood mist that obscured your view gradually dissipates, and silence falls over the entire cave. I got my shotgun moment. She did it herself. I'm happy. Moving on. Never mind! Fuck's sake! God damn! Okay. Outcast was the one who convinced me to take the job. No idea what kind of messed up rumors Closure had poured into her head. She said banshee incantations are magical, and if I were to make the new sign, Rhodes Island would surely have smooth future voyages. And that came from a Sancta. I like the way I like the way he says it. Basically, not in a derogative speech, but basically, an angel asked the devil to bless a thing. So he was like, oh, okay. As for Misery, he pulled a welcome back ribbon out of his pocket and I love these people. This is amazing. From the light. Good lord. Okay, what's about to happen here? There's a shit ton of enemies. Uh-huh. Good god. Oh. The Sarkas are coming, Siege. Yeah, no shit, they're coming. Okay. Jesus Christ. Okay, come on. Steam Knight pops in and slices every fucking piece of shit to to dust. Holy hell. The fuck are you guys gonna do against the shield idiots? Okay, what's about to happen? Oh! Well... Sure... Oh my god, this is getting big. Where is this going? Also, in case I'm using this as some kind of react, I have a piece of candy in my mouth right now. Oh my god, this is getting big. Everybody's about to die. Uh-huh. Okay, here we go. Bagpipe! All hands! We've almost reached the stone of the sword. Yeah, but, come on. Because she... Yes, here he comes! Yes! Yes, deploy him! Deploy the Gundam! Oh my god, last second. Jesus Christ. Oh my god. I was never so happy to see you, you bitch. I was never so happy to see this asshole. Fuck me. Delete it. Vina, don't hesitate. Right now we have a chance. The only one we'll get. That's right, the only one you'll get. Oh, she's redeployed. Cutscene, cutscene, cutscene. The edge of the stone of the sword cut the palm. Okay, I'm gonna have to practice this one. Flinging her from it. Okay. Just one step further. One more miracle. The knight who was Victoria never forgot. The knight who was Victoria never forgot his duty. He streaks across the sky, picking up the golden lion who held the realm blade. A dull sound came from the bloodied suit of armor. Glorious Victoria. The stone lies just ahead. The waves of Originium rise and fall, countless crystal shards surround her. But the one in the eye of the storm will not waver, not anymore. Music. For the Glasgow gang. For Londinium. For all who died. And for all who live. The golden lion roars at the storm. The size of kings plunges down. Sword and its stone become one. This is an explosion of golden light. It falls on the crystals and on her, shining towards heaven and earth. Oh, fuck! The golden radiance pierces the red demonic eye, tearing a hole in a curtain of death above. A miracle has happened. A legend has returned. The hero's sword cleaved through catastrophe, bringing golden hope that fell upon the eyes of every Victorian on the battlefield. Londinium will yield to no storm. As long as they have the size of kings, there is no foe they cannot overcome. Victoria! Victoria! The exemplars! The exemplars! Vina! Vina! The cries form a great wave, lifting up the exhausted hero. Siege looks up at the size of kings. The sword in its stone looks entirely ordinary, as though it was no more than a key. She knows more than ever that the sword has never granted anyone power, nor has she suddenly become one of the heroes of legend. She stands here now because of the countless eyes that have witnessed her, the countless hands that have lifted her up. Oh? Oh, this is still going. This is still part of the battle. Oh, shit. Oh, it's pressing it back. Everybody's being redeployed. Oh, this is cool. Oh. They all have like a super buff on them. Can I see? I don't think I can. Defense 1900, what the fuck? I just noticed that. Okay, I'm gonna have to look at the others outside of the recording.